Things are spiraling fast in Baltimore, and the vibes around the Ravens feel more like a funeral procession than a franchise chasing a Super Bowl. Just a few weeks ago, expectations were sky high. A deep roster, a fully healthy Lamar Jackson, and what was supposed to be one of the most complete teams in the league. But here we are. One Victoria in 5 games. A crumbling offensive line. A defense that can't stop a nosebleed. And John Harbaugh, for the first time in a long time, is visibly cracking under the pressure. You can see it in his eyes during press conferences. There's no spark, no fight, just frustration and fatigue. And while Harbaugh remains measured in his words, the undertones are deafening. He knows this team is lost right now. And when your head coach starts talking about everything being on the table, especially regarding personnel changes on the offensive line, that's not just posturing. That's a cry for help. The offensive line, which was supposed to anchor this team, has been nothing short of disastrous. No push in the run game. No protection for the quarterback. Guys getting bulldozed at the snap. The Texans, yes, the Houston Texans, bullied this Ravens front in ways that felt embarrassing. And when Ronnie Stanley was ruled out, you could almost feel the dread setting in. It was going to be a long day, and it was. Harbaugh's words were telling. Talking about players who have to keep earning their roles, who can't plateau, and who still have to prove themselves. That's not vague coach speak. That's a direct message to the guys up front that their jobs are on the line. And frankly, they should be. Because this isn't just about poor performance, it's about effort. It's about body language. And right now, nobody on that line looks like they even want to be there. Look around the league and ask yourself, how many teams would still be starting players who consistently get manhandled at the point of attack? Not many. The Ravens have options, even if they're not ideal. Ben Cleveland? Maybe. Corey Bullock? Possibly. Are they world beaters? No. But at this point, shaking things up for the sake of urgency might be the only move left. Then there's the injuries. It's like a recurring nightmare. Your quarterback's banged up. Your all-pro defensive lineman is out for the year. Your Pro Bowl middle linebacker? Also gone. And now Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and Roquan Smith, arguably the core of your defense, are all dealing with tricky soft tissue injuries. Calves, hamstrings, groins. The worst kind of injuries because they can't be rushed and they rarely heal clean. It's a mess. And while injuries do provide context, they don't explain the lack of fight. Ravens teams of the past, the ones we remember, the ones we respected, had grit. They had edge. They never looked defeated before the game was even over. But this group? Shoulders slumped. Faces blank. Zero urgency. Zero fire. Detroit pushed them around. Houston pushed them around. These are games where you at least expect some pushback. Instead, the Ravens folded. Even Harbaugh, who's always careful with his messaging, couldn't avoid the obvious. When he said no one got hurt during Sunday's loss, it was delivered like a punchline. A sliver of good news in a pile of chaos. And that's where this team is. Clinging to silver linings like no new injuries as they get embarrassed on their home field. And look, this isn't just a bad week. This is a trend. It's a pattern. Since that crushing blown lead to the Bills last season, something has felt broken. The Ravens haven't looked right. The Cleveland win last year was great, sure, but even that game was close until the Browns started handing them turnovers on a silver platter. It masked deeper issues. And now, with another ugly loss, those issues are impossible to ignore. There's this growing sense that the current era of Ravens football might be nearing its end. This core, the Humphreys, the Andrews, the Smiths, is getting older. They've had their chances. In 2019, in 2023, even last season, all 3 of those squads had a real shot at a Super Bowl. And what do they have to show for it? Not even a conference championship appearance. For all the talent, all the hype, the Ravens have underachieved in the moments that mattered most. Now we're staring down a roster full of expiring contracts and tough decisions. The tight end room could look completely different next year. Andrews is approaching 30 and likely won't be re-signed. Isaiah likely is supposed to be the future, but the gap between those two is wide right now. Other key names, from Patrick Queen to Travis Jones, may not return. Zay Flowers and Tyler Linderbaum are due extensions soon. You can't keep everyone. So the front office has to pick a lane. Either you push all your chips in and make short-term moves to salvage this season, or you accept that a retooling is coming. Maybe not a full rebuild, but definitely a shift. And for a team that's prided itself on stability, that kind of transition could mean sweeping changes, even at the top. Let's talk about Harbaugh again. He's been the guy in Baltimore for a long time. A Super Bowl champion. A respected voice. But it's fair to ask the question now, is his message still getting through? Because right now, the Ravens look like a team that's tuned him out. Not completely, but enough. Enough that the fire, the edge, the identity, it's gone. This doesn't look like a Harbaugh team. And if things don't turn around fast, this might be his last ride. And no, they're not going to fire him mid-season. That's not how Baltimore operates. But if this spiral continues, if the Ravens limp into the bye week at 1-5, the pressure on Harbaugh is going to become unbearable. He was Steve Bisciotti's guy, handpicked, long before Eric DeCosta had any say. But even that loyalty has limits. This is a results league. And right now, the Ravens are failing every test. Meanwhile, fans are left wondering what the hell is going on. This was supposed to be the team that made a run. That broke through. Instead, they're playing like a group waiting for the season to end. And that's the most frustrating part. It's not just that they're losing. It's how they're losing. No energy. No execution. No identity. And that brings us to the defense. A defense that looks completely lost under Zach Orr. Now, let's be fair. Injuries have decimated the unit. But even when the stars were healthy, the defense didn't look dominant. In fact, they looked soft. Missed tackles. Bad angles. Wide receivers running free with no one within 5 yards. And don't get me started on the third downs. Houston converted 7 of 12 on third down. 4 of 5 in the red zone. Against a defense that used to pride itself on being elite in those exact situations. It's a painful reality. The Ravens' defense, once feared, is now a punchline. Teams are circling Baltimore on their calendars as their get-right game. That's how bad it's gotten. The Texans walked into Baltimore and left feeling like contenders. That should tell you everything you need to know. And at the center of this collapse is the lack of accountability. Too many players coasting on reputation. Too many coaches afraid to make tough calls. Harbaugh has always been loyal to his guys, sometimes to a fault. But if this ship is going to be salvaged, it's going to require some ruthless decisions. And fast. Because if you can't run, can't block, can't tackle, and can't coach, what are you even doing? Out there, Baltimore's season isn't technically over. The math still works. The schedule gets easier. Some players might come back. But let's be real. If this team plays like they did against Houston, if that effort, that execution, and that body language continue, it won't matter who comes back. The problems are deeper than just missing a few starters. This is about pride, about culture, about who you are as a team. As the Ravens navigate this disastrous start, the pressure doesn't just sit with John Harbaugh or the coaches. It permeates every locker room conversation, every meeting, every practice. Players are feeling it. You can see it in their movements on the field. Routes that used to be crisp and confident now look hesitant. Tackles that were once textbook now end with missed assignments and wide-open lanes for opposing ball carriers. Even the veterans, the ones who built the culture of accountability and toughness in Baltimore, seem to be questioning how to pull the team out of this hole. And that kind of uncertainty spreads faster than any virus. It becomes infectious, influencing the younger guys, the newcomers, the ones who should be learning what it means to be a Raven. When the leadership looks like it's treading water, the team struggles to find its identity. And make no mistake, identity is everything in this league. Without it, you're just a group of athletes running around with no cohesion, no purpose, no clarity of mission. Consider the offensive issues first. Losing Ronnie Stanley was obviously a huge blow, but the issues go deeper than one player. The line is fundamentally misaligned. They aren't winning battles in the trenches. Guards and tackles alike are getting pushed back, creating chaos for the quarterback and negating the run game. Baltimore has always been a team built on physical dominance at the line of scrimmage. That's been the identity for decades. When that disappears, when the edge rushers are running freely and there's no push in the middle, everything else collapses. Lamar Jackson, even if healthy, cannot overcome that consistently. He needs protection, he needs running lanes, and right now, both are absent. Harbaugh's message that players need to keep earning their roles is as much about accountability as it is about performance. But there's only so much words can do when the fundamentals aren't executed. Players can't just want it more if their technique is failing and the line isn't moving. Then there's the defense, which has been hemorrhaging yards and points in ways rarely seen in Baltimore. Zach or schemes, which worked in the past, are failing spectacularly now. The soft zones that are supposed to bend but not break are bending too far. Short passes become completions, completions become first downs, and first downs become touchdowns. The Ravens are giving teams too many opportunities, and when you combine that with the injury issues, Humphrey, Hamilton, Roquan all limited, it's a recipe for disaster. But even when these guys are on the field, the performance hasn't been up to historic standards. Missed tackles, blown coverages, and a lack of communication plague the unit. And when the defense falters this much, it doesn't just cost games, it demoralizes the offense and the entire team. Off the field, the questions only grow. How long can this core group last before the front office makes tough decisions? Mark Andrews, approaching the end of his contract, is emblematic of the difficult choices coming. Isaiah likely is ready to take the reins, but the transition isn't instantaneous. What about other expiring contracts and potential extensions? Zay Flowers, Linderbaum, Hamilton. The decisions are coming fast, and every misstep could cost the Ravens in both the short and long term. The window for contention is closing, and management must balance maintaining competitiveness with planning for the future. The looming sense is that a rebuild, or at least a serious retooling, is inevitable. Meanwhile, Harbaugh's position, while historically secure, feels precarious. He has long been a fixture of stability and culture in Baltimore, but seasons like this test even the most loyal organizations. If the Ravens continue this downward trajectory, the discussions behind closed doors will shift from "how do we fix this year?" to "how do we reset everything?" And in that scenario, even the most respected coaches aren't immune. The league is ruthless, and the Ravens aren't above the rules of business and performance. The player's mental state is another concern. When veterans start showing hesitation, when you see routes not run fully, when effort dips after minor setbacks, it's an indication of internal unrest. Rashad Bateman's failure to finish a route on an interception, for example, isn't just a mistake. It's emblematic of the broader malaise. Professional athletes are paid to perform at a high level consistently, to show effort even when the outcome is bleak. When that effort wanes, the rot spreads quickly. It's not a single-player problem, it's systemic. And in a league where mental toughness is as critical as physical skill, the current Ravens team is dangerously low on both. Looking ahead, the schedule offers a small measure of optimism. The remaining games are, on paper, less challenging than what they've faced so far. If the Ravens can stabilize, get key players healthy, and perhaps make a few personnel adjustments, there's a chance to right the ship. But it won't be easy. 1 or 2 wins in the next few games can only mask the deeper structural issues temporarily. The underlying problems, offensive line inefficiency, defensive breakdowns, player buy-in, aging core, must be addressed, or this spiral will continue. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing tonight with what could be the most shocking rumor of the offseason. Sources claim that the Baltimore Ravens have secured 2 of the league's most electrifying talents, Patrick Mahomes and Myles Garrett. If true, this would mark an unprecedented shift in the NFL landscape, instantly catapulting the Ravens into serious Super Bowl contention and sending shockwaves through the rest of the league. Rumors began circulating earlier this evening after anonymous insiders hinted at major moves coming from Baltimore. Fans were quick to speculate, but the double confirmation of Mahomes, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks of this generation, and Garrett, a relentless defensive force, has left even the most seasoned analysts scrambling to process the implications. The prospect of pairing Mahomes' signature arm and improvisational genius with Garrett's game-breaking pass rush paints a picture of a team capable of dominating on both sides of the ball. While contract details remain undisclosed, whispers suggest that the Ravens front office has pulled out all the stops, potentially offering one of the most aggressive financial packages in NFL history. Social media has exploded, with hashtags like #RavensDynasty and #MahomesToBaltimore trending within minutes, fueling speculation that the franchise is ready to make an all-out push for glory. Experts are already debating how the rest of the AFC will respond and whether this could trigger a domino effect of blockbuster trades and signings. Critics, however, caution that while the rumor is tantalizing, integrating two superstars into a single roster is no small feat. Chemistry, play calling, and defensive schemes will be under intense scrutiny. Yet for Ravens fans, the idea alone is intoxicating. A vision of a team that could redefine the NFL's power balance for years to come. For now, the league waits with bated breath, eager for confirmation or denial, as this potential pairing could be the story that dominates football headlines well into the season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.